Hello and welcome back for part 3 of our series on reading wiring diagrams. In part 2, we showed you a wiring diagram for a Komatsu PC200-3. If you remember, we showed you that there are multiple wiring diagrams that were set up on serial numbers and different configurations of the machines. We ended up that video on a phantom view that was provided in the service manual showing where all those components and harness connectors were located. Now, we'd also like to show you in part 3, Komatsu anticipated that things would go wrong with their machines as they get used and age out over time. So they put together a logical way to troubleshoot their systems without having to go to figure it all out through the wiring diagram and then find your way through the phantom view on the monitor panel. In these deals, they put together some judgment tables and then some flow charts for troubleshooting. So this one here, this is a judgment table, and what it's there for is to help you narrow down where your problem may be. What happens in this time, you could have a hydraulic issue or you could have an electrical issue that could be the cause of the problem. So by using this judgment table, it helps you figure that out. Now, as part of that, you have a computer, and the computer's got a diagnostic setup on it in the form of a couple diodes. This line up here, the cell, shows the possible configurations of those diodes, and it tells you what each item is. So now if you come down here, your failure mode, it's here, which is actually your operator's complaint. And it lists out the different complaints they might have. And then it shows you the configurations of your diodes, whether they're on or they're flashing or they're off. Now this is showing the upper diode, so this would be the red, and then the green would be the lower. So apparently this green doesn't have much to do with this particular problem. So if you follow these across, it says that these are lit. It's basically asking you a question. It'd be either yes or no. Now keep in mind this flow chart is set up in book form. So this would be a page you open to, and this would be on the left. And you'd be able to follow these lines over to the right-hand page, and you'd come to this. And you'd follow these out, and they would come to not a solution, but another step to follow. So if it's a hydraulic issue, this H here means hydraulic, and the E down here means electrical, and 5 is the chart number, and 2 is this chart number. So let's say that you came up here and either none of these are on or only 1 or 2 are on, and it's not in line, and you're still slow. So to check that out, we'll say, okay, it's not all of them on, so we'll go to number 2. It says no, and we'll follow that down here, and it says go to chart E2. So we'll go to chart E2. And these are the particular items. So it says chart E2. This is for a 3-stage mode selector. And if we don't have any power, which is what this is indicating on your diodes, then it'll ask a question. In this case, is voltage between fuse 4 and chassis ground 20 to 30 volts. And it'll give you a condition to put the machine in. Well, in this case, it's a voltage between C10 and at C10 between 1 and 2, 20 to 30 volts. So you'll answer the question. If it's no, then you go down and ask you another question. If it's yes, it'll come up here and you follow the line out. And for each configurations listed here that could be on that computer, and it runs you through these flow charts. Now again, this is in book form. So this is the left page and this is the right page. It'll come to a cause up here down this column, and then this column comes up to your solution, or in this case a remedy. and it tells you to do something, and that should solve your problem. But if you go further down, we'll go through all these, and it shows you in the form of photographs, and these are kind of grainy and black and white, but you get the idea. This is your fuse panel, and number 4 here points to it, and it tells you where those items are. So measure voltage between CN10, which would be connection 10. It's down here, CN10, and that's your controller or your computer. And then you measure the voltage between these 2 pins on this connector, and it's showing you which 2 pins to use. Here it's going for the TVC valve, which is torque variable control valve, which is on your pump. And it works you through all this. Now the reason they do this is because it makes it a lot easier to troubleshoot this particular machine without having to go through and figure this all out through use of that schematic, where you'd have to follow all the lines and see all the connections and then go up to your phantom view of the machine and figure out where those connections are inside the machine. There's still a little bit of figuring, but this makes it easier, and you know what's around it. So if you have an electrical problem, just keep in mind you don't necessarily have to go to the wiring schematic and figure out your troubleshooting process. The manufacturer may already have done that for you, and all you have to do is follow the yellow brick road. So now this is an early machine made in the 1980s, and these troubleshooting charts are being picked up throughout the industry. So you'll see this on virtually everybody's service manuals in nowadays. So I show you this because this is where it kind of started, and it gets better continually. So we'll go more into different wiring schematics down the road, but this I wanted to show you to say that maybe if you have the service manual, you may not need this. You may not be so dependent on the wiring schematic. So anyway, we'll look at some different kinds of schematics here in the next series. So I hope this works out for you, and if it does, let me know. If you'd like to see something else, you can always make comments, and we'll see you on the next one. Thank you.